The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time is undoubtedly one of the best games of all time. This masterpiece from Nintendo was first released in 1998 for the Nintendo 64, and it revolutionized the gaming industry in many ways. One of the key features that set Ocarina of Time apart from other games of its time was its intricate storyline. The game's plot is complex and immersive, and it draws players into the game world in a way that few other games have been able to match. The characters are well developed and memorable, and the game's themes of love, loss, and the struggle between good and evil resonate with players to this day. But the story is just one part of what makes Ocarina of Time such a great game. The game's level design is superb, with each dungeon offering unique challenges and puzzles that require the player to use all of their skills and abilities to overcome. The bosses are also well designed, with each one presenting a unique challenge that requires the player to use different tactics and strategies to defeat. The game's controls are also perfectly integrated with the gameplay, allowing players to seamlessly move Link through the game world and perform a wide variety of attacks and maneuvers. Whether you're fighting enemies with your sword and shield, using magic to cast spells, or playing the titular ocarina to solve puzzles and unlock hidden areas, the game's controls make everything feel natural and intuitive. And speaking of enemies, the game's monster design is another standout feature. From the iconic Deku Scrubs and Stalfos to the terrifying bosses like Twinrova and Ganondorf, each enemy is expertly crafted and presents its own unique challenges to the player. Finally, it's worth mentioning how well Ocarina of Time's graphics and sound fit with the game's overall design. The game's visuals are colorful and vibrant, and the music is some of the best in gaming history, with each track perfectly capturing the mood and atmosphere of each area of the game world. All in all, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece of game design that deserves its place as one of the best games of all time. Its intricate storyline, immersive game world, challenging dungeons, intuitive controls, and stunning graphics and sound all work together to create an unforgettable gaming experience that is still cherished by gamers more than 2 decades after its initial release. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask is a game that I personally think is even better than Ocarina of Time. This game was released in 2000 for the Nintendo 64, and it's a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. One thing that sets Majora's Mask apart from its predecessor is its unique atmosphere. The game is set in a dark and creepy world that feels more like a nightmare than a typical Zelda game. The music in this game is hauntingly beautiful, and it perfectly captures the game's depressing and melancholic mood. In my opinion, the music is even better than the music in Ocarina of Time. Another thing that I love about Majora's Mask is that it's a bit more challenging than Ocarina of Time. The game has a time limit of 3 in-game days, which means you have to plan your actions carefully and use your time wisely. The dungeons in this game are also harder and more complex than the dungeons in Ocarina of Time, which makes the game even more satisfying to play. What's even more impressive is that Majora's Mask was created in just 1 year. Despite the tight deadline, the game's developers managed to create a world that's even more immersive and detailed than the one in Ocarina of Time. But what really sets Majora's Mask apart from other games is its theme of grief and mourning. Each of the game's 4 main areas represents one of the 7 stages of grief, with the first area representing denial, the second area representing anger, and so on. This theme gives the game a sense of emotional depth that's rarely seen in video games. Overall, I think Majora's Mask is an amazing game that's even better than Ocarina of Time. The game's unique atmosphere, challenging gameplay, and emotional depth make it a true masterpiece that's definitely worth playing.